Should we get to our guest?
Yes,
to our guest?
let's do it.
All right, let's. We got a very special guest, so let's get to him. We've got a little bit of a special connection to our 13th round selection, Ben Damphousse. We're pleased to be joined by the Wildcats' first draft pick. In the first round, he went 5th overall in the 96 QMJHL draft, Jean-Francois Damphousse. JF, how are you today?
Hey, I'm good. How are you guys?
Well, not too bad, not too bad. Probably a little less stressed about training camp than you are. I guess just talk about what it's like to have your son at training camp.
Yeah, I mean, it's anytime you watch your son play, it's always a little bit stressful. But in the position that we are, like we know he's not coming in to necessarily make the team. It's more as an experience. He's going back to RNS next season, so it's a really good experience. He gets to get a feel of the pace of the game and what he needs to improve moving forward. So overall, it's been great so far.
That actually answers one of my other questions I was going to ask. What are his plans for this season? So glad you kind of got that in there. I guess I know it's been a couple of years, but let's go back to your draft day and just tell us a little bit about that and what do you remember about it?
Yeah, I mean, back in the days, it was different because as a 15-year-old, you could only be drafted in the top 3 rounds. If you weren't drafted in the top 3 rounds, you'd have to go back and play midget and wait another year to get drafted, which was the case for me. I wasn't drafted as a 15-year-old. So, a little bit of a disappointment there went back to midget. Lucky enough, we had a good team. We ended up winning a national championship with the Sainte Foy Gouverneur back in 1996, which obviously helped me become a first-round pick of the Moncton Wildcats that next summer. So, I lived both experiences, disappointment the first year and being a first-round the second year. Obviously, being drafted in Moncton was exciting. A fresh start for me, a young guy from Quebec that, couldn't speak a word of English and never visited New Brunswick before, so it was a brand new experience, but it was obviously very positive as an experience, and it really changed my life.
And I guess fast forward to this past June, what sort of advice did you get to Ben going into the draft, and I guess how were his nerves the night before?
Yeah, we weren't that nervous. I mean, for us, we're kind of using the long-term path. And I hear a lot the NCAA, and obviously Ben is a good student. He's doing really well at RNS, and we don't want to neglect any sides of the game. Down the road, if playing for the Moncton Wildcats is an option, I think Ben will play there. But at the same time, we want to obviously protect ourselves for the next year or so, so that if it doesn't happen in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, that he still has his options open for the U.S. college. So, I mean, as far as the draft for Ben, we kind of, that's what we told the teams. He had about 8 or 9 interviews. We all said the same thing. Probably not going to play exhibition games. We see this his development path more of as a long-term thing. So, he probably slid in the draft a little bit because of that, but that's fine. We were okay with that. For us, it didn't matter if it was a 8th-round pick or 13th-round pick. He got to live the dream of being drafted by the Moncton Wildcats. He's having a great experience in training camp now. And like I said, if next year, in a couple of years, playing for the Moncton Wildcats is realistic for him, we'll go that way. We have no issue with that.
So, playing with the Wildcats, obviously in 96, 97, he played 39 games, only won 6. But that next year in 97, 98, I mean, you played 60 games, 24, 26, took the team to the playoffs. Like, I'm sure Moncton looks a little bit different from 96 to now, obviously a brand new rink and whatnot. But just talk about your time playing in Moncton, and you're a goaltender that was playing behind not a great team in 96, 97, and they kind of turned things around in 97, 98. Just talk about your time with Moncton.
Yeah, no, obviously, like the first year was tough. I got to play, against really good players, but we were kind of young as a team, kind of a rebuilding, expansion type team following the Alpines. So it was kind of a tough situation, especially after winning a national championship the year before. You're kind of positive, kind of on the cocky side of things, thinking you're going to win every year type thing. But it was the opposite the first year. But we got to build around our young core for the second year. We got better, made the playoffs. We added a couple really good Europeans on the team, and that made a difference for us. So, but there's one consistent thing that's been there since day one. It's the way that the organization treat their players. Just going through the dressing room this past week and seeing how the kids are treated. Obviously, it's a brand new rink and the facility is fantastic. But even back in the old Moncton Coliseum and the way Mr. Irving treated us, it was always first class, always thinking about the athlete first, the student. So the only positive came from me as far as playing for the Wildcats.
And I guess just talk to us a little bit more about your NHL draft experience, because not only were you the first Moncton Wildcats draft pick, you were the first Moncton Wildcats player to be drafted into the NHL. What do you remember about your draft experience?
Yeah, that was a little bit nerve-wracking because there was some expectations. I was ranked quite high, and but in my mind, I was probably more a second-round pick than a first round. I had met with I think I had met like 26 teams before the draft, so I knew I was going to be drafted. If I was a betting man, New Jersey would have been the last team that I would have bet on.
Yeah.
But it just happened that way, and I got to live my dream. I got to play in the NHL. I got to follow the team as a Black Aces for a couple Stanley Cup runs. I got to play in the American Hockey League for a few years. Obviously played behind Marty Brodeur, who was actually pretty good goalie too.
Not bad.
I've heard that. Yeah.
So no, it was a great experience. I got to live my dream. Do I wish it would have lasted longer? Obviously, but that's part of the game. You just never know if your career is going to be 1 game, 5 games, or 1,000 games. It's sometimes there's timing involved. There's different scenarios involved. So, but overall, I'm very proud of what I accomplished in my career.
So this one's kind of a two-parter. One, do you still have that sweet blocker with the cat on it, that Brian's blocker? Do you still got that?
And one of my weaknesses is collecting stuff. I'm really bad at that. I wish I had it because it's actually the blocker that we won a national championship with. I wish I had that gear, but
okay.
I scrambled to find a couple pieces of equipment in the last few years. I'd say about 5 or 7 years ago, I went to play the Heart and Stroke Foundation tournament there, and I had to find some gear for that. But I'm terrible as far as collecting items.
It's kind of cool. It's back. Like now, all the goal equipment is all customized with all designs on it. But that was probably one of the first sets of it. Playing in Moncton, you played, like I said, 59 games 1 year, 40 games the next year. You get drafted. You end up sitting behind Martin Brodeur in an era where the number one guy played 60 of 82 or 72 of 82 games. I mean, just mentally, what kind of a difference was that to go from playing almost every night in Major Junior to once you got to the next level, because you're behind Martin Brodeur, you play 6 games in a year? Just what was that kind of like?
Yeah, it's really hard, and people don't realize. Sometimes we complain and we say bad things about backup goalies when they play bad, but it's a really tough job because you don't get the same feel of the game. You get the practice, but you don't get the same feel of the rhythm of a game and the pace of a game. And sometimes we criticize goalies for the wrong reasons because it's a really tough job. I'd say, a backup goalie that gets 20, 25 games a year, I think it's a good flow. You can live with that. Mm-hmm. But when you play once a month, it gets to be really hard. And, looking back at the starts that I had, I think I did pretty well. I lost 2-1 to Tampa Bay. I lost 3-2 to the Panthers. I won 5-2 against Calgary. I had some pretty good starts, but wasn't able to put enough wins, I guess, to secure long-term starts with the Devils.
Those teams back then with Stevens and Niedermeyer and Rafalski and that kind of decor behind you, I mean, seemed like if it was Brodeur, if you're getting in there behind that decor, they're going to make life easy on you as much as possible. Is that kind of a fair assessment?
For sure. I mean, overall, I'm sure you could ask any goalies that played. I played the East Coast League, I played the AHL, I played the NHL, so I played pretty much in every league possible. The NHL might be the easiest league to play in because people are so good around you. Like the decor is really good, the forwards are coming back in the zone. The play is really structured, where you have to make the first saves. You're responsible for that one, but usually, they'll clear up the net, the front of the net, and clear up the rebounds, and so you only have to one shot to focus on, compared to junior or the minor leagues and the pro, where it's a little bit more scramble, where you have to make 2 or 3 saves sometimes.
Right.
We've had NHL players on the show, and one of the questions we like to ask, like when we had Connor Garland on the show, we asked Connor Garland, everything about his first NHL goal, and he knows everything about it. Being a goalie, as sad as this sounds, do you remember who it was that I guess that scored on you to give up your first NHL goal as a goalie?
No clue, to be honest. We'll have to look in the stats. I have no clue, but I know I played against Tampa Bay my first start, and it was an amazing experience. I got to play against Nikolai Abibulin on the other side, who was a legend back then, and Vinny Lecavalier and Marty St. Louis. So it was a stacked-up team, and ended up, pulling a pretty good game, losing 2-1 on the road. It was a great experience, and my wife surprised me. She was there in Tampa Bay for that game. I had no idea she traveled for it. So overall, it was just an amazing experience, and obviously grateful that New Jersey gave me that chance, and I'll remember that night for the rest of my life for sure.
Just to refresh your memory, it was Freddie Modine.
Man, I should have made that save.
assisted by Dave Andrechuk. So I mean, not bad, right?
I should have made that save still.
That's funny. It's of all the Tampa Bay Lightning players then on that team, I probably would not have picked Freddie Modine to. And it was probably, I'll bet you if we go back and watch, it's probably one of those greasy ones where you're standing in front of the net and you made the first save and it just happened to get on the stick or something.
Possibly.
Like that. One of the other cool things from this past draft, not this past one, but last year, we drafted Keegan Warren, who his dad, Morgan Warren, played for the Wildcats. Have you had a chance to connect with him at camp, or do you guys, like, do the old Wildcats stay in touch now that your sons are getting to that age where they're having the ability to get to the Q draft? It's just kind of when I was doing the prep for this, I just realized, they would have played at the same time. Do you guys kind of catch up? Have you had a chance to run into them and talk about how weird it is you were on the same team and now your sons are both kind of at camps?
Yeah, we actually talked for about 20 minutes after the last scrimmage today. Exchanged some stories from back in the days and talked about life in general. We actually took a picture after the game of our group, that the alumni that have kids in training camp. Jean, his son is there too. He was my goalie coach. And Jonathan Roy as well played for the Wildcats, and his son is in training camp too. So we took a photo of the 4 fathers with the 4 boys, and it's good memories. Good to see some of the alumni back at the Avenir Center. It's always great to see.
That's awesome. That's memories that you don't think growing up you're going to stay in touch a little bit, but actually you don't ever know if you'll see them at a camp down the road or whatever. So that's pretty cool, and to have your goalie coach
absolutely
here as well.
Absolutely.
That's pretty cool. But man, JF, we thank you for taking the time to be with us on kind of a stressful time, because we know cuts are coming at some point. But we just want to thank you for taking the time to join us, and hopefully Ben at some point makes the squad, and we can have him and you on at the same time to talk about playing for the Wildcats.
Sounds good. Anytime.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.